What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls podcast, presented to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. It's the top of all the rated sportsbooks. Make sure you use that promo code CHGO when you download the app and sign up.
Yeah.
I'm Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck.
He is.
My guys, Big Dave, Bow, BAWL Sports, Will the GOAT, Will the Thrill, Will_Gottlieb.
Adult.
Our fearless leader / producer, Joey Spathis.
Adult.
He is at Joey Spathis on Twitter.
Joey's the adult.
Nah,
He's the adult who is also the youngest of all of us by a decade and a half.
I have not read Mice and Men. Of Mice and
you
Men.
can't be an adult.
I gave you that homework assignment last night, Joey, during postgame.
It's a long book.
Did you start?
It's actually a very short book.
I didn't
It's
even.
like not even 100 pages.
I didn't
right.
look.
Seen the book.
I didn't look. What
Pretty
you
small.
sweet post game last night ended at midnight. You
It
thought
was
I
a
got?
late night. Yeah.
I went home. I read the entire story.
Do you have a copy?
I wrote an essay
You wrote an essay? I would like
About-
to read your
about-
essay. I would like to
Double
grade
space?
your
about
essay.
the prominent themes and the character of Lenny. And yeah,
I'm actually intrigued.
I'm going to
by
need to
this.
read that.
Yeah, me too, man.
And I'm going to grade it.
Yeah, I'll
need to
bring
see
you
this.
guys in a copy
I got to
Grade
check
it with a
spelling
red
errors, man.
pen, young man.
next
You
week.
got to comma out of place, man. It's gonna be your ass. I promise.
I just feel like it's going to be
That's how I feel
riddled
every day.
with misspellings.
Got my red pen ready for you, bro. I can't wait. Semicolon. What the hell for? It's gonna be on you, bro.
I don't know why I have this reputation as being a bad speller. Not true.
No,
Because-
you just started
Because I see you with typos in our stuff all the time.
I'm the only one who's sending the links. There's going to be a couple typos.
That's true. He's right about that. He's right. He is.
All right.
Matt wants perfection.
I just,
I know.
Don't,
no excuse.
Don't just do that lazy thing where you just have Word do the spell check for you and not actually proofread it yourself. You got to commit that extra
I
level
agree.
of time to
He's
editing your
holding
own
us to
work,
high
sir.
standards because he cares.
I agree. No
Because he
question.
holds himself to high standards.
He wants us to
Damn
be
right.
great.
Yes. He
Just
holds
like
himself to
MJ
that.
said in The Last Dance.
What'd he say?
I never asked my teammates anything to do that I didn't do myself.
He's right. This is true.
Yeah, Peck just wants me to win. He wants
why
me
you
to
don't talk about
experience
one
that too.
I want you to enjoy the winning
That's
feeling
right.
of writing a quality essay, Joseph.
This is why he doesn't discuss music with us, Joseph. He sticks in the wheelhouse of things that he does great.
I respect that. Comments big
Respect.
enough for you guys?
Say it again.
Comments
Perfect.
big enough?
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty
I
solid.
have bad eyesight. That's
You
why I
do?
got to rewatch Bulls games so many
Yeah,
times.
so
I
you
can't,
do
I
have
can't
plans.
see
There's
what's
always-
going on.
Just Grandpa Will over there who doesn't have his cheaters. Like,
Adult is
Tell
probably
you the adult, man. Dude. Thanks for getting up.
adult is generous. I'm more
yeah.
like
Thanks for turning down your
geriatric.
early bird special, man. I know this is around your time right now. You know.
it is. dude.
It's about your
It
time.
is,
Go get
dude.
it.
hope y'all have been able to shake off that blowout loss from last night.
we already got a
Apparently
blow it up
Benjamin
comment.
has not taken it off.
See, this is
the
this is
comments,
why I wanted
blow
the
it
comments
up.
bigger.
Blow it up.
Forget it. Start it off.
We'll
Hello,
talk a
Benjamin.
little bit more about that on today's show. We're going to cover a few topics, including whether or not the Bulls are, in fact, the most depressing team in the NBA.
They are not.
Should the Bulls run more of their offense through their starting center, Nikola Vucevic?
Maybe.
And at the 1 quarter mark of this here 22-23 season, how should Bulls fans feel? Where are we on that ledge? Are we tiptoeing closer to the edge? Or are we backing away from it? What up, Anthony? Nice to see you here
Oh.
hanging out with us again.
You're quite welcome, sir.
All right, guys. Well, so let's start here. In case people missed it, this was a column that popped up on The Ringer, I don't know, a few days ago now. And it was, what was the headline again? The Bulls are the NBA's most depressing team. Will, I know you and our guy Mark K touched on this a little bit in your most recent HQ. And like, I know people were asking us about this in the comments of other recent shows. Look, to me, this is just one of those examples of
I gotta turn this off.
a
This is
national
distracting me.
NBA head writing something about the Bulls when they don't know really the full story of what's going on.
Yeah.
Michael Pina is the author, not super familiar. I maybe have seen a couple of things of his in the
He
past.
does decent work. He does decent
Sure.
work.
Decent work.
He's good.
Okay.
Open floor
But-
podcast I like.
To me, the important question is whether or not Bulls fans think this is the most depressing team in the NBA.
It's a great
I don't
question.
give a damn what this random Ringer columnist thinks, and I disagree with a lot of what he wrote in his column. Some of it is factual, and some of it I think is a stretch, and some of it I think are sweeping generalizations about what the Bulls should do compared to the situation they find themselves in.
Yeah.
What was your first takeaway from that, Dave?
The same ones you had. Actually, I kind of laughed at it. Didn't read it because I don't think you can write something like this without some kind of fact in it. So you have to have some facts because that's what you have to base it off of. But as a lot of lies are, you know what I'm saying, they're always based in some kind of truth. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, I feel you on that. And then he just kind of goes off the deep end for me. And I'm like, yeah. Well, he lost me, first of all, at most depressing. Because when I think of depressing, I think of like a team with like, I don't know, 2 top 75 players and they're like battling for last place. Like, for me, that's depressing.
You mean the Lakers?
That's one, yes. Or I think of a team with the guy who's probably the MVP candidate right now that they're barely 500 and struggling to win, those Dallas Mavericks. For me, that stuff is depressing because those guys have real championship expectations. And when you're not even sniffing it, you know what I mean, or even getting close to touching it, for me, that is depression. The Bulls, we knew what they were coming this season. You're right on that point.
Who we thought they were.
Right. We knew what this was coming in. 6 seed, 7 seed, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Play in. You know, we knew what this was. So it's not depressing to us for them to be playing up to what we thought they were going to be, give or take about 2 or 3 games that I thought they should have won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But still, like, yeah, this team is not whole. They're not going to look right. They're not going to look together yet. So they're doing kind of what's expected. But teams that have came in and said, no, we know what we're trying to do right now. This is championship time. Here go the expectations for us. And we're not even meeting any part of them. I'm leaving out teams like Detroit, Orlando, you know what I'm saying? Those kind of the Rockets. I mean, those are young teams everybody expected.
Is the
to
excitement
have those
of
L's.
what might happen with Paolo, or is the excitement of what might happen with Cade Cunningham something that makes those fan bases less depressed than Bulls fans right now?
Still losing
Those teams
games.
are still trash.
Yeah, but
look at all the great pieces Orlando have.
Yeah.
Cool, they're still trash.
They're looking at all the young stuff, and they've been trash for a while.
Yeah.
So they're used to it. But they're looking at all the young players, like you said. You've got guys just like, oh, I can point to him and say, well, you know, that'll put us on the lips of the national media because we have young guys who people are looking at. But for me, it's just more depressing when you have a goal to win it all and you're not meeting anywhere in it. And also, depression is what I went through years ago with the Chicago Bulls team. I remember that stuff. That's depressing. Watching Jackie Moon game with Klay Thompson get whooped on. That's depressing.
Colin says, all I know is I'm 90% less depressed than I have been for the last 5 years about the Bulls, and I'm 500% more excited.
That right there. He understands pain is what that is. He understands what depression is and sadness and drinking your sorrows away because you're watching another 20-point ass whooping. That is depression when you're combining it with alcohol. I ain't had to have a drink watching this team in 2 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, okay, we took an L. That was tough. But, dude, it doesn't make me question my fandom. Yeah. That's not what's happening right here.
I agree with Marquet. Minnesota's sort of depressing.
That's another one. Yes, that's depressing.
Everything.
They mortgaged their whole everything.
That's looking like it could be the worst trade in recent NBA of the last 10 years. Like
all of what we're talking about right now is subjectivity. Like, you can say, oh, is Washington more depressive? Is Minnesota? Is Orlando?
It's not good to be in the conversation, though.
It's an opinion. So this guy's got an opinion. That's fine. But I think if you zoom out and look at why he feels this way, it's because the Bulls are not performing the way that maybe they would have hoped, which is better than 9 and 12.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a disappointment. I wouldn't say that's depressing, but it's a disappointment.
Yeah.
And they are out 2 more picks, which are really like the main ways that you can improve your team.
Yeah.
So there's limited avenues for improvement, and the team is not performing. So I get where that's coming from. But yeah, I mean, to go to the most depressing, I think I think it's a big jump because they actually do have avenues to improve, and we can spend some time talking about that. But I just think like the overarching premise of this story is that the Bulls are completely lost in the wilderness right now, and I fundamentally disagree with that because they do have a good team with good players. They're underperforming, but that doesn't make them necessarily like a lost cause, and they have avenues to improve, which he also listed out. So it's kind of like,
I mean, they have a lot of close losses that could have been wins if a few plays go differently. They are still, despite this, oh my gosh, the sky is falling attitude fans seem to have after last night's loss. Okay, 9 and 12 doesn't sound great. They're 2.5 games back of the 6th and final playoff spot. You're 2.5 games back of still avoiding the play-in with 3/4 of the season to play. Oh, and by the way, through this part of the season, the Bulls have had the biggest level of difficulty, strength of schedule-wise, of any team in the NBA. Boom. Just a little perspective and context for all of you, this is the most depressing thing I've ever seen. Fans out there.
And it's like you said.
2.5 games back.
It's not that if he said the Chicago Bulls are depressing, I was like, okay, I can hear that point. You know what I mean? I hear that argument. I get why it can be depressing. The most depressing in the league, that's where you lost me. Because you're trying to state that as this is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones. Point at them right there. A team that's not even in last place is going to be depressing. The most depressing team for you. I don't see it like that, bro. Sorry.
The injuries are depressing.
Yeah.
Lonzo's depressing.
Sure.
Zach not playing as well as he can is depressing.
That's sad.
But those are also areas where the team could improve.
Yeah, true.
It's depressing that the Bulls are 2-8 in clutch games this year. That's
Yes.
depressing. But they were first in the league in clutch games last year.
Not
so that's
depressing.
an area where they can improve. So I think like when we have these conversations, the one we did last night, where it's like this team got whooped. Devin Booker scored 50. Bad game. 51, whatever. Like you have to zoom out and think about it bigger picture, because when you fly into those extremes after one game, you're gonna freak out. This is what happens. The Bulls beat the Bucks. Oh my God, they're a contender.
Right.
But they're still 7-10 or 7-11, whatever it was at that time. So it's like one game at a time. Let's like zoom out and think big picture. I realize that that's a lot less fun, but this is kind of where it is right now. They're like
hot takes only, Will. What do you mean?
Lukewarm takes with Will.
Look, looping back to this Ringer column, and also kind of it goes back to what we were discussing a little bit in postgame last night, the whole question of whether or not this team should quote unquote blow it up right now, and what blow it up means.
Lesson for you? Give up.
Is it?
Just quit. Because in this life, you can't.
Thought you guys would appreciate that one.
It's a great lecture from Jack Black to the young children of School of Rock. Give up. Just quit.
Just quit.
What was I saying?
Continue our discussion on demand.
Tomorrow. The whole blow it up thing and whether or not that means tanking. That's the issue I have with this Ringer column, is because it's okay. The whole like, are they the most depressing team? It's a grabby headline, right?
Sure,
It's like it's clickbait headline.
Yeah.
His thesis
Got us to click on it.
is, if any team in the entire NBA should tank, it's the Bulls.
Yeah.
That's his thesis. This is the team that should be tanking the hardest right now. And his logic of that is, well, you know, Zach is a limited all-star. DeMar is aging. Those two plus Vuce as a trio have a net negative. Lonzo's not coming back, etc. But here's the other thing. He willingly says in this column, oh, well, by the way, you know, the Bulls still owe next season's or next year's draft pick to Orlando. It is top 4 protected, so you should tank. Oh, but by the way, even if you tank your way, if you're the Bulls, to being one of the 3 worst teams in the NBA, you only have just slightly over a 50-50 shot at keeping that pick versus still giving it to Orlando.
Yeah.
And then where does that get you? And how do Bulls fans feel about trusting NBA draft lottery ping pong balls these days? Because is it not great? I don't know about you, but for me, it's fucking not great.
That's actually the part where I do agree with it a little bit, in the sense that like, and okay, let's start from the top here, because I think it's pretty clear based on the first couple of sentences in this that he wrote this after the Magic game, after the Bulls lost to the Magic, went to 6-10 or whatever it was, and before they beat the Bucks and Celtics.
Yes.
That was rock bottom. We've talked about it. We've said it. That was as bad as it could get. So it says recent wins against the Celtics and Bucks aside. So, like, there are going to be bad games, but the Bulls could find themselves in this situation where, even though they're not necessarily trying to tank, they could end up giving the Magic the 5th overall pick.
Right.
That's a possibility. And so, if you are trying to maximize your odds, you may as well try to chip in an extra however many percent and get closer to that, even if you do end up giving them the 5th pick, which could happen regardless. So I get it from that perspective, but again, like, part of the reason why they're depressing is because they're not playing well. Would you rather end up with Amen Thompson and not have DeMar or Vooch or Zach LaVine next year, or maybe end up with him and still have those guys? So I think it's just a little bit short-sighted in that sense, but I think that the idea of the Bulls have traded away their pick, top 4 protected, prevents them from being bad or trying to be bad. I think that is, like, in some ways, I think it would be worse to, you know, end up giving away the 5th pick and not also getting draft picks back, future picks, other assets, whatever, instead of just giving them the 5th pick and staying on the course that they're on now.
Right. But I also don't really agree with the notion that some Bulls fans have that, well, you know, they have nothing left as far as draft capital. They've pushed everything into the middle of the table, like this comment from Fly the Dub. Acme can't and won't tank. They pushed all their chips in with this group. It's not like the Bulls' cupboard is bare. If they don't want to trade off DeMar or Vooch or, you know, anybody else on this roster to try to look, if you think about the fact that they've already sent one of those picks to Orlando for Vooch, they only owe them one more. You've got the DeMar sign and trade San Antonio 2 years after that.
Yes.
But you've got the Portland pick coming in.
Boom.
So the Bulls right now are just net down 1 first-round draft pick. That's it. One net first-round pick is what the Bulls are down. And some Bulls fans act like, oh, like they mortgaged everything to put this group together, and this is the best they can do. They didn't mortgage everything. They didn't. And, you know, we talked a little bit last night. Look, you know, DeMar was on a shorter deal. Vooch's deal is expiring. Might not bring him back. It's like the Bulls only have, I think, 4 or 5 contracts on their books in 2024. And by then, we'll be just 1 pick to San Antonio away from being done with all of this that they've done to put this roster together.
And the picks to San Antonio are top 10 protected.
Yeah.
You know what's also like it's also funny to me because the league is so bunched up right now in both conferences, like record wise. Like everybody is kind of treading water at 500. Nobody's really just gone above that. Maybe 2-3 teams, you know, Boston, Milwaukee, you know, Phoenix, you know, those kind of teams are above it. But it's so wild because if you mentioned like being in the 6th seed, if the Bulls win 3 and the Pacers lose 3, they're the 4th seed. It's so crazy right now. You know, and that's how close everything kind of is right now.
No, but blow it up, Dave.
Yeah, but, you know, get rid of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's that close. Like, everything is that just right there against each other right now. And I'm not saying it's great, you know, for the Bulls to be in a position where they're not 500, but I'm saying right now it's okay to be right there right now with the league being as bunched up as it is right now. And the Bulls still trying to find their footing. And, again, treading water. And I've said this a lot this season. They're just kind of treading water, man, and trying to keep their nose above it. Keeping your head above water. Tell me what show is that? Tell me.
I don't know.
Damn it. I just knew he knew. I just knew he knew it, man.
Does anyone else know?
I got nothing.
Nobody? I'm more mad at you.
Yeah, well, when Matt doesn't know, I mean,
because
Keeping your head above water?
because you heard Jack Black singing this in School of Rock.
singing.
Making a way when you can, temporary layoffs. When he was in the van with oh my God.
What show is it?
Right now. I am ashamed of
That's the first time. That's the first time.
He's singing Led Zeppelin.
When he was in there with Joan Cusack after he went on the date with her.
Oh, to
bring
try
her
and
back,
convince her to
and
take
he's
him on the
singing.
field trip.
Yes.
Classic.
And he's singing.
That's one of the first times one of you has made a reference that the
Ashamed.
other has not.
A shame.
Understood.
Shame.
It's completely serious.
Where is the shame sound effect?
Wait, what show? What show is
It's
it?
Good Times.
Shame.
Thank you.
Shame.
Thank you.
Shame.
Shame on this man here. How dare you? Thank you, Frank. Thank you very much.
Nicholas N. got
Stevie
it.
Nicks. Good job, Marquez. I like how he named the person and not a song. It's Stevie Nicks.
I do love how Joan Cusack, it's like a smash cut into like 2 seconds later. She's had 3 sips of beer. She's absolutely hammered.
Ooh, baby, ooh, say you. It's my shit. I broke Joey.
Oh, here comes Fly the Dub back with his record of a random spot choosing between last season partway and then this season. And
Here we go. Shout out Fly the
What are you
Dub.
doing, man? What are you doing to
Bulls are now
yourself?
29-38 in the last 6-7
What are you
games.
doing
We're
to
basically the
yourself?
same roster.
Who
Shout
the
out.
hell cares?
Shout out to you.
I think there is actually value in that comment because
Talk to me, Will.
the Bulls didn't do anything this summer.
Yeah.
Right? So they didn't try to improve. So I think you can, like the whole idea of we need to evaluate the group that we have. I mentioned this last night. Lonzo's not going to be back by the time they need to make decisions about their
Yeah.
future, right? Like it's going to be extend or trade Vooch. Those are the 2 options, right? They're probably not going to let him walk for nothing.
Okay.
So by the time they, in theory, need to make a call about extending or trading him, ideally you would like to see that full group with Lonzo back together. That's not going to happen. So you've now seen however many games is it, 67 games with this group performing the way that they have. Like, I do think that you can look at the sample size from last year and lump it in with this year. It's not a perfect comparison. They were a complete disaster towards the end of last year. And I think that in a way balances out with the first half where they were overperforming. But I do think at a certain point, like, you look at the group from those last however many games plus these first however many games. And I think you have to look at that in some capacity and say, we're missing X, Y, and Z things from this group that we've now seen almost 70 games of.
Did he say the Bulls' defense is depressing? That's the best thing about them.
It's the only good thing about him right now.
And look, I mean,
but he got good time, so shout out to you.
What I do understand as far as fans who are frustrated is kind of what you were saying just now, Will. That their explanation for not doing anything at the trade deadline last year, even when you kind of saw them starting to slip a little bit as they were nearing that deadline, was
that's a good point. I'm glad you brought up because they were starting to slip.
When we're healthy, we like our group.
Yeah,
we'll get people back. Zach Neal come back and be fine. Lonzo will come back. We'll be great.
Banking on.
Like our group. That excuse last season to me was at least understandable, logically speaking, if their optimism was we get this group healthy and we were the top seed in the East. To do that again this year, if the Bulls are worse than starting to slip from the top, but where they are now, outside the play-in, then okay, I would understand the rage from the fan base at that point.
Yeah,
because again, it's now that trade deadline, which I think was fair. I agree with that point. It was this summer, which I disagreed with that. I think they should have done more to add.
Right.
And now if we see it again at this upcoming trade deadline, that's 2-3 flagpole like points in time where you have an opportunity to make moves. And I mean, we'll see what they do at the deadline. But if the idea is that they still have to wait and see, like, how long can you just wait and see?
It's a great point.
Right.
But I do think that, like, the bigger issue that I have with this article specifically is that the whole thing is they're the most depressing team, but also Alex Caruso is awesome. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. And also, look at what you could get back if you traded DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. You've got all these guys that could get you back assets. So are they really that depressing? I mean, if you did decide to move on from all those guys, you could end up with net like 3x the amount of draft picks that you shipped out to get them.
True.
I would say that's a pretty good situation to be in. Whether or not you believe in this group as a whole, and yes, some of those assets do depreciate over time because you're talking about a Vucevic who's going to be expired. You're talking about DeRozan, who's now got a year and a half left instead of 2. Yeah. And is 33 years old instead of 32. Like, some of these assets do depreciate in value, but you still have so many players you could move off of. Like, if the Bulls really wanted to blow it up, they could get picks for Caruso. They could get picks for Vooch, DeMar, Zach. If you really are, like, trying to trade guys, you could get picks for Patrick and Ayo. Like, they have ways to improve the roster. I think the bigger question is, do they go the other way and try to add to this roster? I think that's a dangerous game because we don't know if or when Lonzo will be back. We don't know when we'll be able to evaluate this group as healthy. So it's very difficult to decide what to do. But I think you get to a certain point and you have to make a decision. You can't just continue on status quo. So that's what I'm looking for at this trade deadline is which way do they go? Because I think they need to make a move either way. I don't think you can just keep going on the same path, especially if you're 4, 5, 6 games under 500. The pick is out. You know, at that point, you've got to make a call.
You've passed the preaching, boy.
We got to take our first quick break here. While we're sharing some words from our friends and sponsors, do us a favor and hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching along with us on YouTube, we appreciate it mightily. Today's episode brought to you guys by our friends at ComEd. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve manage every usage and lower energy bills.
All of it?
Now and into the future.
Yeah.
ComEd offers a wide array of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across their territory. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Love the LEDs.
Come on.
Learn more about network lighting to operate your lights through your mobile device and track your facility's energy usage and more. Incentives have recently increased for indoor, outdoor lighting and networked lighting controls, making these projects even more cost-effective than before. So here's what you do. Go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz right now to start saving money and energy. Also, if you want to start a project, you can contact them at 1-855-433-2700. That's 1-855-433-2700. For more information, you can also email them businessee@comed.com or publicsectoreE@comed.com.
Joey?
Yes.
They never understood.
Never.
They never understood.
They
Joey.
never understood.
Ever. They didn't get it. Oh, Shady Rays don't understand. This is how angry they are about this. They are filled with the peck rage when it comes to people paying for expensive glasses. Oh, that was your peck rage? Oh, my God.
What does rage look like to you?
I don't know. That looked adorable. That wasn't rage, man.
Well,
I've seen your rage. Yeah, it looks like that.
Right.
Yeah, now put a face on that.
It's not a game day, so that was just me, just like a fun little pretend rage.
See, I told you.
It was a real rage.
Yeah,
I got no reason to be rageful right now.
This is true. Adorable rage.
I'm hanging out with my friends.
Yeah.
We're about to have our office party.
It's true. And Will's got
Christmas lights around his neck.
Right.
Tis the season.
Tis the season to
Come
be
on,
go
there we
be.
go. There we go.
Oh, he's not playing
There
around.
we go.
Oh, but Shady Rays is upset. That's who got that rage.
never
They
understood.
don't want you to pay that money or break the bank for quality sunglasses. They are tired of you doing that. They said, come hang with us. We got you covered. They got those premium polarized shades, y'all, featuring that world-class optical clarity, sustainable durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle.
A tay.
The best part about Shady Rays, they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear, that matte, peck, lost, and broken replacements. Now, not today, but the other days, like yesterday, Matt Peck is full of that rage, and he tosses a hat or two.
Career high hat throws last night.
It was, bro. Oh, my God. You were putting them up. He was Devin Book out here. He was putting them up.
HTPGs through the roof.
He was putting them up, baby.
Joey kept stacking them up. I kept knocking them down.
Yeah.
Big Dave threw a hat. Jay threw a hat. The Hawks guys were
Yeah.
throwing
He did.
them.
Hats were thrown. This is true.
All the cool kids are doing it, Joseph.
That's right. He even tried on the reversible one. Like,
Glasses throws.
he's in
Shady
real
Rays
form.
throws in the near future.
Oh, man.
But you don't get to until you finish writing your paper, young man.
So if you lose your shades when you're tossing those hats, or you break them when you're tossing your hats, guess what? Shady Rays, they're going to toss you a new, fresh pair. Oh, they got you covered like that. 200,000, y'all. 200,000.
Basically a million.
Reviews. That's how many they got. So come on down and get on down, because you know how Shady Rays gets down to the ground. Exclusive for them listeners out there, though. All y'all beautiful people with the sexy ears. Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use that code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. That is a buy one, get one free. What they call that, Matt Peck?
BOGO.
That is a BOGO for the Lolo of 54 for sure. Redeem only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades, because the Shady Rays, where the Rays are oh so damn shady.
So shady. Renewable, rechargeable review say, damn.
See, that's good times. That's
Look
good
at the
times.
bacon.
Damn. That was monumental
Assume that's
moment.
what his reference was.
Monumental moment. Yes, it was. Good time. See, that's why he said it. Good
What
time.
up, JR?
Damn.
All right, guys. We also wanted to talk a little bit more about the Vooch thing.
Flip side.
There are some people who think that they should be doing more of their offense through Vooch.
Yeah.
Running more offensive sets through Vooch.
Yeah. Will's laughing already.
When you say more people, I
see
just think of
Marquez.
Stacey King.
Okay.
I
Stacey
see
King is all of
Marquez
the
hanging out
people.
with us in the comments. Oh, I know he's already triggered. Yes, and by some people, I know, obviously, the Bulls broadcast has definitely been making a heavy point of that. But we were also talking about it like in that win against the Jazz a few nights ago.
Yeah.
When that was an advantage that the Bulls had, and they weren't maybe using it as much as we wanted them to.
True.
There's Benjamin in the comments saying, let Vooch cook. Mark, quote unquote, some people. What do you guys think about this?
I have some thoughts on this. So,
As opposed to the ISO
opposed to
from
the-
DeMar, the
Yes.
ISO from Zach.
yeah, exactly. So it's not so much Vooch in the post that is for me. Like I think it should happen more. Yes, I think he should get the ball more in the post, because you have an advantage there, and 2 points is better than 0. I don't know why people talking about it's outdated and shit like that. I mean, I know what's not outdated. Buckets. Buckets is not outdated, all right?
Buckets will never be
Ever.
outdated.
It will never. Bill Russell told you, man, this game will always be about buckets. It's about buckets, all right? My thing is this. I think the offense should flow through Vooch. And because looking at it now and just how it's set up, the Bulls are a better team when the ball is moving. Duh. They're a better team when that happens. Obviously, I'm not talking about the fourth quarter, when it's DeMar time and, it's got to slow down that way. That's different. I'm talking about that first quarter, those first couple quarters when you're getting everything off, not letting the ball stick, everybody getting a touch and getting it to the right people to take the right shot. When you look at who they have on the floor and you don't have Lonzo out there, who is your best passer in your starting lineup? It's Nikola Vucevic. He's your best passer. And I also think he's the guy with the best IQ on the floor in that starting lineup. That's what Vooch is. And he's very, very unselfish out there. I think if you run your offense through Vooch, that ball does not stick, and that movement is key because you'll watch guys starting to cut. I mean, I remember when Caruso would start doing it. I remember when Ayo would start doing it. We saw Zach start doing it when he's got the ball like that. You know who I immediately thought of when I was thinking about this, Matt, was Joakim Noah. It was the first thing I thought of. When Derrick Rose went down, the offense switched and they ran everything through Joakim Noah. Why? Because he was the best passer on the floor and he had the highest IQ of anybody out there in the starting lineup. So you put that on the floor and you allow things to flow through him and everybody else to get their shot around him because they were not a great three-point shooting team either. But they got good buckets because the ball moved. And when the ball moves, like everybody knows, it has an energy. And when it gets to the right person, good things can happen that way. So I think that removes Zach LaVine from becoming an ISO person. That removes DeMar DeRozan from constantly thinking he has to be the ISO person. It allows Ayo to do what I'd like him to do best, which is cutting and slashing and getting to the bucket. And it allows Patrick Williams to do whatever the hell he wants. Mm-hmm. If he wants to go shoot threes out there, shoot those threes. They're going to be open for you. You want to slash on the baseline, you can do that too. You want to go get rebounds, you can do that also. But it also gives you the option of Nikola Vucevic, who is also a skilled offensive player, to have the ball and maybe score out of that set also. So I think it has to start running through Vooch to get everybody eating.
I agree. I think Vooch is a really good post scorer. I think he's a really good post facilitator. But I think that the Bulls do a pretty good job of balancing it. So we've seen games like the Jazz where they probably don't do it as much as they would want. But they've also seen games like the Celtics where they're going to him every possession because the matchup dictates that he can get an advantage there. Mm-hmm. There are also games like, I don't know, who have they played recently that has like a bigger big man where Vooch doesn't have the same kind of post advantage. Like that would be the case. Valanciunas, that will be the case against Sabonis, where he's just not going to be able to get to his post spots as much. So this year, Vooch is posting up on 21.5% of his total possessions. Last year, it was 17.8. So they are going to him a lot more. It's not as much as his last season in Orlando, where it was 23.5, but like it's pretty close. And, the trajectory is upwards. I think they're doing it right, but you cannot fall into a trap where you're trying to just put a square peg into a round hole, going to him every single time, killing the flow of your offense, just waiting for him to get in position, throwing it down there, getting the kick out pass, you can't play basketball that way. It has to be more balanced. And I think the Bulls are actually doing a pretty good job of that. There are totally games like the Jazz game where you want to see more of it, but I think for the most part, they're doing a pretty good job. And that's where Vooch is at his best, right? Like he's able to show off a lot of his skill set, whether it's the facilitation, the post. He can do a lot. So you do want to maximize him. I think that's where a lot of the frustration was last year of this guy's just a spot-up shooter and he's shooting 31% on threes. Like, what's going on here?
Right.
And so now you're seeing a little bit more of his offensive versatility in the post. That's kind of, I think, turned the narrative about him a little bit more positively.
And again, like I was saying, my thing wasn't per se talking about the post offense. I'm just talking about running the offense through him, like starting from the free throw line extended. So even when you got guys like Valanciunas, that means the big guy is not going to want to come out the lane. So if your free throw line extended and you're running your offense from there, well, then guess what? Your lane is going to be open some kind of way.
The difficult part about that, although I do agree, is that you have DeMar out there.
Sure.
Where does he like to be?
Exactly.
In that same spot. So now you've got two bodies plus two defenders there. That's just, it's cramped. Like, what do? Do you have DeMar spot up in the corner? Like, that's not his game.
Tell him get the hell out the way.
Like, I think Vooch is better at spot up shooting than DeMar is. So you kind of do have to do that. Plus, DeMar is just better than Vooch. So it's a balancing act. And I hesitate to say, let's just let's go through Vooch fully. I don't think that's what you're saying.
No, not fully.
But I do think that they could always do a little bit more. Maybe they stagger those two guys a little bit.
I can see that.
And go back to those lineups where Zach and Vooch are together. They're running their empty side pick and rolls, really playing off each other well. Like we've seen that a lot this year, not as much because you've got the Dragic, Drummond, Zach lineups, which have been killing it. So I think there's still some like lineups that could help Vooch get into more of a flow. But I do think for the most part, we've seen a better job from him facilitating from whether it's the post or the free throw line extended.
Yeah, he's got to get his hands on the ball and facilitate because again, when that's not happening for the Bulls, and neither is the offense. Like, so it has to have some, like you said, it has to have some kind of balance out there. That has to be a thing.
Our guy Mark pointing out in the comments that look, if you just constantly, repetitively are trying to just run a bunch of post action, that can stagnate in offense, just like iso ball from DeMar can stagnate in offense.
Yeah, you run anything over and over again, it'll stagnate offense. I
think there are also situations,
unless you're Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
true.
I think there are also situations where like Vooch has a guard and. Like I'm kind of picking on Stacey here because this is just like the person I hear talking about it. But like Stacey will say, "Go to the post. You got a guard on you." But like some of these guards are like, their team switches, so they're used to guarding the post. They're really good at it. Like posting up James Harden or Marcus Smart is not an advantage. Those guys are incredible post defenders. Posting up Cameron Payne is, and that's the time where you go to it. But it's not as simple as like go to it every time or go to it every time you got a guard on you. It's just there has to be more balance in it. And I'm not saying they shouldn't go to it because I totally think they should, but it's a balancing act.
Joey, you put it up a few minutes ago. Can you put up that those string of tweets from our guy Mark again, please? Because I saw these tweets from Mark last night as people will keep talking about are they using Vooch enough, are they not? You were mentioning the fact that his post touches are actually up from last season, Will, which is interesting. On top of that, just to give you some perspective compared to the rest of the league, our guy Mark looked this up and found that Vooch is actually 7th in the NBA in post-up frequency this season, 10th in post-up possessions per game. So if you're saying that he's not getting enough of that, by comparison to the rest of the league, he's up there.
He's up there.
And then also,
I would also wonder like who those other players are because it's not just like your average center. Like a lot of these guys, it's Luka, it's Giannis, like guys that aren't like as far as centers go, he's got to be really high up there with Embiid and Jokic.
And the fact that, as you saw in those subsequent tweets from Mark, I don't think Vooch is taking too many threes. We've talked about that, about, why is your big man out there at the perimeter? He should be inside banging all the time. I mean, that three-point rate you saw, it's not that high. You occasionally see those nights where Vooch will jack a bunch of threes and you say, well, why didn't he get more touches inside? But it's not the case always. I think Bulls fans, for whatever reason, since Vooch arrived, have this incorrect notion that he shoots more threes than he does get touches inside, and that's not the case.
Oh, that's definitely not the case. He definitely gets more touches, way more touches inside. I see Ricky saying it's not about running it through Vooch, but he has a lot of mismatches that aren't being taken advantage of. I agree with that second part, but for me it is kind of about running it through him. Like you have to mix this up. Like he has – your best passer on the floor has to pass the ball. You know what I mean? Like putting the ball in his hands. Your best passer and your highest IQ guy out there, you have to give them the basketball, you know what I'm saying, so they can do what they do best. And that's what Vooch does, best. That's what he's very, very good at. So I don't think it's an issue giving him the basketball and running plays through him and saying, hey, man, facilitate a little bit, get everybody involved.
It's a good point. And it's also kind of makes me think of this other idea, which is like it depends on how the defense is playing. If you're switching everything and you got a smaller guard on you, sure. But if you're down there and they're guarding you one-on-one with like Joel Embiid or something, you don't have an advantage there. You're not going to be able to score on him, and the defense isn't doubling you. They're not collapsing on you where you have the open kick out. So it does depend on the way that the defense is guarding you. His ability to make plays is really good, but like you can't make plays if there's no advantage. There's no double coming where you can actually make the right pass.
Right, correct. Absolutely right. Gotta make the pass.
Eric saying we lack a Taj and Boozer on the rebounding end. I don't know if that was motivated. That comment was motivated by the fact that we're discussing Vooch right now. We're discussing Vooch on the offensive end. The Bulls are a top 5 NBA team in defensive rebounding percentage.
Yeah, because they got him
by
and
the
Drummond.
way, because they got Vooch and Drummond.
Yeah.
Also, do you remember Carlos Boozer? Not exactly known for his prowess on the defensive glass. He would yell grab at Joe
Give
while he watched Joakim
Get that, Joe.
do the work on the glass.
He did do this pretty often.
That might be the first time I've ever heard Carlos Boozer referred to as like, an elite rebounding force.
Defensively, he was a great, but again, that's why Marquez is telling you that fourth in defensive rebounding, because that's where Carlos Boozer was. He was not an offensive rebounder; he was a defensive rebounder. But the Bulls have that covered.
They also have Andre Drummond.
Correct.
Off the
That's
bench
what
this year.
Like Matt just mentioned, like a dude who comes in and will get you 10 rebounds in 10 minutes. Like that's kind of what Andre Drummond is, man. So yeah, they have that. Those aren't the things I'm worried about, with this team. Those aren't the concerns. The defense and the rebounding have been solid for the Chicago Bulls. It's that other shit that I'm talking about on the offensive end and running the damn ball through Vuce. That's what I'm talking about. Not that other stuff out there. That's what they need to be doing. Getting to the three-point shot. Give me a three. God damn it. Shoot some threes.
What was it last night? 4 of 25?
I'm not ready to talk about it.
It's still raw.
I don't have my hat.
Burn.
I don't have my hat bucket next to me. We can't start talking about both 3-point shooters.
Yeah, you're supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to be. Not supposed to be angry right now.
We got to take one more quick break here while we're sharing these words from our friends and sponsors. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Appreciate it. Helps us out a lot. Woo! Today's episode brought to you guys by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. Hoops Junkies. The NBA's back. It's heating up. Still so many unknowns. Will Tatum win MVP? Will it be Luka? When I'm looking to get in on the action, I bet with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA and an official betting partner here with us at CHGO. I don't know why that's so funny.
No, I'm looking at what Larry Strickland said.
New customers can bet just $5 on any NBA moneyline bet before the game. And if your team wins that moneyline bet, you're getting $150 in free bets. What an amazing deal. $5 turns into $150. Check this out. Also, everyone right now can earn up to a 100% boost with that DraftKings stepped up same game parlay. Boom. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Start your same game parlay with some points, with some boards, with some dimes, with some 3-pointers made. Throw a spread in there. Throw an over-under in there. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. Boom. When you download that app, don't forget that promo code CHGO so you make sure you get that great deal on the $5 NBA moneyline bet. It is time, gentlemen, for our DraftKings pick of the week. There's one NBA game on tonight's slate, which is baffling to me.
Just one?
There were 13 NBA games last night. Tonight, there's one. I don't know what's going on there.
The rest of my time?
So you know what? No offense to Pistons Mavs.
That's the only game?
That's the only game tonight is Pistons Mavs.
That's even more depressing.
I know, right? So because of that, I'm looking at Thursday Night Football in the NFL. I'm looking at Bills, Patriots.
My favorite team.
I'm looking at the Beatles, Patriots.
Yes.
It's Bills are only -4.
Okay.
And I know that there's maybe been some questions, like they just barely eked it out against the Lions. Josh Allen's elbow is kind of a thing, but every report I've heard this week is, he's playing through it and he's still fine and he'll continue to be fine. Yeah. -4? Dude, the hell with the Patriots. Bills are going to crush this team.
They should.
Give me Bills to cover -4 over the Patriots in Thursday Night Football. That's my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week.
That's a pick of the week.
Don't forget that promo code CHGO.
Ooh, pick of the week.
I love betting against the Patriots.
I know you do.
It's like betting against the Death Star.
Their defense is mean, though.
Their defense is mean.
Pretty damn mean, dog. Pretty damn mean.
Team is trash.
I want to be with you, but I can't because they not
trash.
All right, we'll say that. I know it's not trash. That apparel at Pins and Aces.
Kitty.
Looking fly, looking smooth. Just like for this man over here. When I say Pins and Aces, he is the first face I think of right there. The face of Pins and Ace is in the place. And his name is the GOAT. Oh, looking smooth and right.
He doesn't even golf regularly.
He does golf.
Dude. We were there in Vegas.
What are you talking about?
We saw the putting competition.
Yeah, Joey, back up.
I watched that dude sink like a 30-foot putt.
He's skilled, but he's not like an.
I'm not a golfer, but that was a.
Of the three of us.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I did
Pins and Aces.
Go you roll, Joey.
I did sink that putt.
Get up off of that,
There's
Joey.
video evidence.
There it is.
Sank that putt.
Sank that putt.
There is proof.
And when last time you been on the course?
What?
When last time you been on the golf course? When's the last time you've been? You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
No, I don't.
Man, nobody understands the words that are coming out of your mouth.
When's the last time you've been on the golf course?
Probably like May.
May?
Yeah.
Matt, last time?
A golf course?
Uh-huh.
Oh, God, years.
Yeah, me, never.
Yeah.
He's a golfer.
I think me and Will would have a good match. Like,
I think you would kick my ass. But
I'm not good either.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. We
You
should
have
do it.
Will, have you ever golfed sub 100?
My career high is 99. Yeah.
Okay, you
Ooh.
would whoop me then.
Usually,
you'd
usually I'm
whoop
like
me.
110, 115.
You'd
I just
whoop,
had a
you'd
great
whoop
day.
me if you had
Again,
a
Joey,
99.
he golfs. One
But,
more time for you. He golfs. That's what he does. The Pins and Aces is what he's going to have on because it's the official golf apparel partner of CHGO.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes, it is.
If I'm gonna golf, I'm wearing pins and aces.
There it is.
Obviously.
Yes, he loves that Pins and Aces gear, and he gets tons of confidence on and off the course when he puts it on. When he gets back out there when the weather is nice, they're a family-owned golf and apparel business, making those amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even that Matt Peck beer sleeve. You know he want it. That innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep your drinks frosty cold the entire round. Or for me, I call it the sleeve of death because I'm gonna have them liquid deaths up in there in the vicinity, baby, ready to go. So check out pinsandaces.com and use the code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. Play good, look good, all good.
Shout out to our guy Jimmy, a.k.a. UK Chicago Bulls, who said, let's play golf when I'm in Chicago next week. I suck too.
Next week?
Come on down. Yeah, dude, you didn't hear that Jimmy
It
is
is
coming to Chicago?
25.
No, I'm
Have you ever been to Chicago in
what he
December?
said. That's what I'm talking about. Like
I
that.
mean, come on.
That-
You
that.
can bring the elements.
That I could, but I ain't.
I don't even think
Does
golf
Pins and
courses
Aces
are
have
like open.
parkas?
I don't.
Pins and Aces.
I've never gone golfing in the snow. I have, however, a couple
doing
years
that
ago, I
shit.
was out visiting my buddy in Denver, and there was
That's-
like a blizzard that was coming down right after I landed in Denver. I
Okay.
just barely beat the snowstorm. And we went Frisbee golfing in a blizzard, and it was so much fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. it's a
I think we would have fun like going to Top Golf together.
Top golf would be great.
Yeah.
Eh.
Peck just gave a crazy face.
golf,
Like
man.
that was the worst
I
idea
just,
ever.
having never been to a Topgolf in my life, I
It's-
am turned off by the concept of who I think are the type of people who would go to Topgolf.
Damn.
I'm not a huge Top Golf guy, but like
Steven's like, yeah, I would be that guy.
He was like, rage, yes. Rage. I feel his rage.
That's just a crowd of people I don't need.
Yeah. Not yours?
Me and Joey?
I was just about to say.
We're not
The
your
goat's
crowd?
going to be in the
I would
place.
happily
I'm
hang
hurt.
out with you guys outside of work somewhere
hurt.
other than a Topgolf.
He's hurt.
It's the giving season.
Yes. See, he's got the necklace on.
Okay.
It's season of giving, man. Light it up for him.
What about mini golf?
Mini golf.
I would
JR
rather go
from
to a
Grand
mini golf
Rapids.
course than a Topgolf. And again, this is zero
Yeah.
experience at a Topgolf opinion of mine.
Yeah.
It's just prejudging that I'm guessing based on what I hear, kind of people who I hear talk about Topgolf, go to Topgolf. I would not like it there.
You're like,
For the record, I've never been to Top Golf. I want to clarify that now, but I do think it would be fun.
I've been once.
Of course you have. You're a golfer.
It was like years ago before I even started golfing, but it was a lot of fun.
Are you kidding
Years
me?
ago before I started golfing. You hear this man. The man's a golfer. That's what he does, man.
Guys, okay.
He'll be very disappointed. But yeah.
Oh, you don't want to hear about mine, man.
We should do it though. It'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Yeah, of course, Mark. Of course I'm judgmental without cause. That's who I am. It's what I do.
That's his whole shtick.
Shtick.
Guys, speaking of being judgmental without cause, let's talk about how Bulls fans should feel about this team one quarter of the way through the season.
Well done, sir.
Now, I do think that Bulls fans have cause to be frustrated right now. 9-12, in my opinion, not the end of the world. 2.5 games back of safely avoiding the play-in after you've endured the hardest strength of schedule of any team in the NBA is not end of the world.
It's not.
But I understand that this team is not where we want them to be.
No, and the reason, and I can understand the frustration, is there are at least 3 losses that should have been wins for the Chicago Bulls, and that's where
Orlando,
the frustration
San
is.
Antonio,
And Washington.
OKC, throw Washington.
Yeah,
That could be 4.
Well, that could be 4 then. Yeah, but there were the 3 though. I'm like, yeah, they should have won that game. But yes, definitely the Orlando one was a crusher for a lot of Bulls fans. You know, that was the one they wanted to win and should have won. So I get it. It makes sense. Like Matt said, it makes sense. The frustration. It's just the deep end where people are going is where I just have no desire to be. You know what I'm saying? That's just a wild place down there, man. No, I'm cool back here chilling in the shadow and dipping my toes in that. You know what I'm saying? Checking the temperature and things.
Jacuzzi, baby.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Of course, nobody's happy with being 9-12. You know what I mean? You're not satisfied with that. But having the toughest schedule in the NBA and still not being a whole basketball team and still figuring it out and still not having any three-point shooting and all these deficiencies that the Chicago Bulls have, 9-12 and basically a couple games out of the playoffs. No, not even playing, but I'm talking the playoffs. You're a couple games off of the 6th seed. So you're a few out of the playoffs for the Chicago Bulls. And it's still early, so yeah.
I get it. I get the frustration.
Yeah.
This team has been disappointing for the most part. They've had some really impressive wins that I think are probably the only reason that a lot of people are like not on the ledge right now. But like they got to play better for the most part. And I think they will. I think you've seen a lot that suggests that there will be improvement and not a lot that suggests that there's like area for them to totally fall off.
Right.
Like last year, Billy Donovan would be the first to tell you this team's shooting 39-40% on threes, shooting the fewest threes per game. Like there's going to be some regression there.
He even said that openly to the media and therefore the public when they were on that, a winning streak here
or there.
Multiple
times.
Yeah, he said like, hey, just pump the brakes.
I remember.
He brought up multiple times last season, training camp, that they're in the play-in if DeMar doesn't hit back-to-back game winners.
Yep.
Like, they get it. There's area, I think that's why we talk about overperforming. There's area for them last year to have the kind of second half that they did. Obviously, that was a disappointment. Obviously, I think it was worse than what anybody would have thought. But there was reason to believe that they would not be as good as they were.
Sure.
I think kind of the opposite is true this year. They are not performing well in the clutch. They've still got injuries. Zach LaVine is not looking as good as he has. The shooting has kind of tapered off. I put this in my recap from last night. He's shooting like 14, 12, 13% on threes over the last 10 games. Yeah. Vooch is down to 29% over the last 10 games. Like the shooting has not been there despite some hot performances from the team. The defense, so you expect some improvement there, right? You expect some positive regression. But the defense has looked pretty good. Okay, there's probably going to be some regression there, but like 11th to 15, 16, I think is a reasonable expectation for what this group is.
Yeah.
Performing so poorly in the clutch, I think it's reasonable to expect them to improve given what we saw from them last year during the first and second half of the season. DeMar was scoring 50 against the Clippers and winning those games. Like the Bulls are a better clutch team than what they have performed this year.
Yeah.
And they've had 10 clutch games. So you bump that up to 5-6 instead of 2 wins. All of a sudden, the record is 12-9 instead of 9-12.
Yeah.
So I think there's area for improvement. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with Lonzo, and based on what Billy said last night, who knows if he'll ever come back. But Zach LaVine, I think you can expect him to start to look more like himself at some point. I just think that they're playing like one of the other things that I've heard a criticism of them is that their shot profile is roughly the same. Like they're taking a lot of mid-rangers. They're not shooting a lot of threes. They're still not getting the free throw line as much as they were last year. So what are we expecting to change? But I think the process has changed in a positive way, which is the way that they're getting to those shots. It's not DeMar. It's move the ball around the perimeter. It's get into multiple actions and then get into DeMar. So he can do DeMar instead of DeMar. So
yeah,
I think
that makes sense. That makes sense.
I think I'm going to need that one more time to fully comprehend what you were talking about.
I hope that the people listening on the podcast will refer to the video on YouTube so
you
that they can understand
like
that.
if you're a basketball person, you kind of know what he's saying right here. Yeah,
Thank
that makes
you.
a lot of sense.
I'm glad you got
honestly.
that.
That makes sense.
But so all that to say, I think that there is reason to expect this team to be better. I get the frustration that they haven't been good. And I also think that there is a reasonable argument to be made that they kind of have an opportunity to go the other direction if they wanted it. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they should.
Yeah.
But I get where we are relative to all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, I think the trajectory is going to be upwards. Now, they've got to get there. They've got to actually win the games. But I think it's more likely that we see them perform better than we see them perform worse.
And
DeMar.
I mean, you mentioned Zach. Zach in particular.
Zach has been so bad.
I can't imagine that Zach LaVine is going to get worse than this stretch of games we've seen him play recently.
Yeah,
that is completely illogical as a possible outcome of where we go from here. Is Zach somehow being worse than this? What is he, 2 of 12 from 3 in his last 2 games?
It's clearly something
He's
wrong.
shooting, negative broccoli percent from the field.
So you know he hates it.
I mean,
Negative broccoli. Oh, that's amazing. Just looking at the Bulls, and where they stack up, looking at their numbers, obviously their defensive numbers are much better than the offensive ones. On the offensive side, though, looking at all their numbers, do you know the only 2 places that they are in the top 10? The only 2.
of all statistical categories?
Of all their statistical like offensive rebounding, 3-point attempts, assists, turnovers, total rebound, all that stuff.
On the offensive end?
On the offensive end.
Does mid-range shooting percentage fall into that category?
No.
Okay.
Free throw line?
Correct.
I was going to say free throw and effective field goal.
No. Free throws
just
made.
free throws?
And free throw percentage.
All right, wow.
That's it. They're number 7 in free throws made and number 3 in free throw percentage.
And I don't even think
That's
they're
it.
as good as they were last year in that department.
Ain't that what? Yeah, it felt like they got to the line at a different kind of rate.
I'm going to look it up
You know
right
what I
now.
mean? It wasn't a
DeMar specifically. DeMar.
DeMar. Right.
They actually are getting to the free throw line at a higher rate than they were last year.
Number 7 and number 3. That's where they are. The Chicago Bulls.
I mean, that's how they won that Utah game.
Correct.
Because they also chucked bricks from 3 in that game.
But they lived at the free throw line in that game. Lived from there. Because obviously Utah is a 3-point shooting team. So they're not going to get to the free throw line as much. But the Bulls definitely did. They took advantage.
That's how they have to win games, right? Like, they're going to lose the 3-point attempt battle for the most part. They've got to win at the free throw line. They've got to win at the rim. And they've got to win defensive rebounding. Because if they're trying to do their thing in transition, I think they're doing a pretty good job of that. But if they're doing that at the expense of getting defensive rebounds, they're going to get killed.
Yeah.
If they're not beating people in the mid-range, which, I mean, if you're not doing that, you're just shit out of luck.
Yeah.
You're just not winning because that's a DeMar bad game and you're just not going to win that game.
Correct.
So you've got to, it's like DeMar has to do his thing at a super high level and the rest of the stuff around him has to be good. It has to be the transition, has to be rebounding, and has to be getting to the rim.
Right.
And those are the areas where it's the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
Because we've seen so far, DeMar's scoring is down, I think in large part due to the fact that the Raptors triple teamed him every time.
Yes.
And they played them twice now. He was held in single digits scoring both games. I think if you remove those, his scoring's right where it was last year. So he's given you approximately the same as what you got last year for him.
Washington, too. They also did that.
Washington, too. It's the rest of the guys and the process leading up to it. And I think they've improved in all those categories. You're going to have games where Ayo goes, 0 for whatever from 3 or Vooch is 1 for 7 or whatever it is. But it's got to be the consistency of all the other stuff. And I think there's reason to believe that is, at the very least, improving.
And everything else, everything else is kind of middle of the pack as far as their number is concerned, 18th, 19th, 14th. But again, the glaring one is the 3-point shooting. Dead last in attempts
and middle of the pack in
28th in makes.
Wait, total makes or percentage?
Total. Oh, excuse me. Hold on. Let me get that for you. Correct for Matt Peck. That is 30th in attempts and 28th in 3-pointers made.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because last time I checked, as far as their accuracy on the 3-point shots, they're middle of the pack. Not great. Because remember, that was the other thing about last season and that crazy hot start, and you mentioned it a minute ago, Will. They didn't take a ton of threes, but they were hitting them at a crazy clip.
And when that stopped happening,
they failed.
Completely fell apart.
Right.
They failed the fuck
And then
off.
they also, on top of that, started shooting fewer and fewer as the season progressed.
Yeah.
They went from being dead last in 3-point attempts to dead last by an even wider margin. And once again, this season so far, they find themselves dead last.
Matty Legend.
And I think that is an area for concern for me still, because did you say Matty Legend? I'm just processing that.
Just because you whisper it doesn't make it less offensive, Dave.
I just processed that very slowly.
How you hear that, but you ain't hear the golf course question?
I don't know, man. That was
What
weird.
is
I just
that?
could not
What
understand what you're saying.
You garbled it a little bit.
I literally said
I
said
didn't
it 3
understand
times.
it until the second time you heard it, and I just barely understood it the second time.
He didn't understand
So
the
when he
second time.
asked you a third time, I was like, I understand.
So 3 times in?
Yeah.
It was garbled to you 3 times in.
It
I'm
was
speaking plain English.
David, my friend, you have
I was
got
speaking
to
plain
enunciate.
Oh, my enunciation is amazing, sir.
Is
you would
it
not put this on me.
better
it was
or
a
worse than
Absolutely
Joey's?
not.
It was a complete fail on my part.
Better or worse
Taking
than Joey's
accountability.
essay writing skills?
I haven't seen his essay writing skills. So
But
I
you
wouldn't
know there's an
I
odd
know.
place semicolon.
You know.
That was my way of reminding Joey he owes me a term paper.
Look what you done, Joey. Look what you turned this man into. Don't do this.
Gonna blow you all away.
Don't do it to yourself.
all away.
I already wrote. I had my thesis in the chat earlier.
He's got a thesis ready to go. When's the last time
Yeah,
you wrote
did
a
you
paper?
just copy and paste that from a Google search bar of
Yes.
Mice and Men?
Yes.
Because that's what it looked like.
In Of Mice and Men, John Steinbeck shows the inevitable failure of the American dream through the lives of migrant workers during the. Okay, that's not even a thesis.
That's not a thesis.
That's not a
of an
thesis,
essay.
that's a summary.
Just a one-sentence
synopsis.
plot summary.
Yeah. Dang, Joey.
Well, all right. First of all, I know the steps to writing a good thesis. We'll discuss later.
We can discuss it later.
I don't want to.
Dave does not want to discuss it later. I would like to discuss it later.
Yeah, he's Matt Peck.
Perhaps
It
with you.
It has to be arguable.
And maybe we need to make this a parent-teacher conference as well.
Bring his family in.
Yeah. That's it. We're out of time. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us today. Hit that thumbs up button before you head out of here. We will be back tomorrow. Bulls West Coast trip continues late night, 9 p.m. Chicago time tip-off.
What do I?
Golf course.
That's how it sounds to you? How sad.
Golf
Run
course?
this back and check me out. Here's the
We will be
enunciation
here for pregame
of
at
the greatness.
8:30. We are going to be doing remote pregame and postgame tomorrow because it's a late one. But we will be here, as in on YouTube, for pregame at 8:30. And then back for postgame at, I don't know, midnight. Hopefully the Bulls make it worth our while for staying up late.
Yes.
Yeah, so we will see you tomorrow, late night for pregame, 8:30 Central Time. In the meantime, you can hit us up on Twitter, Will_Gottlieb, Sports. Bow. Joey Spathis is at Joey Spathis. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are at CHGO_Bulls.
Matty Legend.
Shout out Jimmy one more time. Safe travels to America soon. Can't wait to see you, bud. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We got to get a Rager going here.
Thursday.
A Rager.
Yeah.
The hell
CHGO
Just having
Friendsgiving.
dinner.
Nah, y'all can have that. Cool, baby. I'm good.
We'll talk to you next time.
Steven's
Gotta be
gonna
good.
rage.
Time early, man.